Corin's the partnership manager for the Better Cotton Initiative, and he's responsible for the implementation of the partner models, which include Australia, US, Brazil, one of the stands, and so yeah, Corin's charged with the responsibility to basically implement these partnerships and then manage them. So he's a great ally for Cotton Australia. I won't hold up any time, but please welcome Corin.
Okay, good morning. Very nice introduction by Simon. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. It's a great pleasure, in fact, and the whole journey that I've had personally with Cotton Australia up to this date has been enlightening and particularly gratifying. So for those of you who are not familiar with BCI, and Adam and Simon assure me that all of you are extremely familiar, we are essentially responsible for stewarding the global Better Cotton Standards system, either through the direct implementation of programs ourselves, or through aligning with partner organizations that are working to achieve the same outcome. So a great example of this is the work which has been done by Cotton Australia with its long-established and continuously evolving homegrown industry standard, which is MyBMP. So as part of last year's developments, and which you probably picked up on earlier, BCI entered into a strategic partnership agreement with Cotton Australia, formally recognizing MyBMP and thus making all certified growers of MyBMP eligible to offer their cotton into the market as Better Cotton. This was a proud day for me, proud day for BCI, and I believe a proud day for Australian cotton growers whose hard work and dedication over a great number of years has led to them being further recognised as leaders in their field. So just to quickly help understand how important cotton is globally, I wanted to share this statement from the ICAC, which I believe illustrates this perfectly. If we're indeed part of supporting the livelihood of 250 million people, then I think most of us would like to do that in the most sustainable way possible. While a lot of good practices are evident around the world, not all of them are being implemented in every place, and this is part of the gap that BCI is trying to fill. Importantly, we're not trying to do this alone, but rather in parallel with the work of our partners such as Cotton Australia. We didn't set out to reinvent the wheel, but prefer to recognise and endorse high levels of achievement where they exist. So this year, BCI is actually celebrating 10 years since it was founded in 2005 by a collective of global organisations, which includes Adidas, Gap, H&M, IKEA, Organic Exchange, Oxfam, Pesticide Action Network, WWF, yep, there's a few NGOs in there. And a few years later, in 2009, BCI published its first global standard. And then in 2010, was able to celebrate the first harvest of better cotton through direct intervention in Brazil, India, Mali, and Pakistan. Since then, we've gone on to establish programs in China and the US, plus enter into strategic partnerships for Africa, Brazil, and as you're already aware, since last year, Australia. We're constantly updating our approach to tackle the scale of the challenge, expanding to new regions and pushing for tangible and rapid change that is needed for long-term solutions. We're doing it in a true spirit of global partnerships, building connections between farmers and businesses, with other sustainability initiatives, and with governments. This is happening in the developed and the developing world, and we've built a network of supporters who will keep driving the change. Currently, we're defining and setting out our strategies for the mainstreaming phase, which is due to kick off in 2016, based on a better understanding of what success looks like, and we're setting out to have reached a tipping point of mainstream change in cotton production by 2020. So no pressure whatsoever. So what has BCI achieved so far? Well, in 2014, we were able to license around 1.2 million farmers who collectively produced around 2.3 million metric tons of lint. And this was spread out over 20 countries and 5 continents. To help illustrate the expansion of Better Cotton programs, this map shows where we were at the end of last year. For those of you paying attention to our US developments, you can see that we're pretty well established in Alaska right now, although I have to say there's more enthusiasm from some of my colleagues to focus our attention on the sandy soils of Hawaii. In 2014, the first Australian Better Cotton was produced by certified MyBMP farmers, and this equated to about 60,000 tons of Better Cotton, which contributed to the overall numbers that you see there. Through this slide, I would just like to quickly illustrate a number of the global partners that we have, including Cotton Australia, all of whom are working with farmers around the world to produce better cotton. Thanks to the hard work of these organizations, BCI has been able to continuously expand in scale with rapid year-on-year growth. So BCI is fundamentally a membership organization made up of the 5 categories that you can see highlighted here. In 2014, we exceeded our target of 450 members, and now we're poised to smash our target of 700 members in 2015. And this is illustrated by our mid-year position, which has just been updated. Very importantly, BCI has the full support of leading brands and retailers, many of whom have already made public commitments about their sourcing targets for sustainably produced cotton. Here you can see a few household names who have openly declared their objectives regarding the use of sustainably produced cotton, with some like IKEA giving ambitious targets of 100% for as early as the end of this year. We now have 42 brands as members and a serious pipeline with many, many more set to come on board. Many of you will be interested to know what's happening to your cotton in the supply chain. And I'd like to give you a little bit of a snapshot which demonstrates some interesting trends. So to begin with, at a global level, we're estimating that better cotton will account for around 11% of the global cotton supply in 2015. It should be borne in mind that we've set ourselves a target of 30% by 2020. Looking at our programs in India, Pakistan, and China, just to give a bit of extra flavor, you can see that we anticipate increases in the volume of better cotton, equivalent to between 6 and 20% of total cotton production in each of those countries. However, as a result of reduced planting and despite excellent yields, we saw that Australia took a big hit on overall production volumes this year compared to last. However, one thing's for sure, and if history is anything to judge by, this is an area where we can expect a very strong comeback. Comparing the consumption of better cotton by spinners in 2014 to our updated year-on-year figures for 2015, you can easily see here the big upswing in demand. It has literally doubled. And in case you're wondering why the numbers are reported in kilos, according to our supply chain team, it looks much more impressive. So 2014 was the 5th harvest of better cotton and an important year for the organization. Having reached this milestone, our momentum continues to grow on the journey towards making better cotton a truly mainstream commodity. So far, we have a standard that's been developed, tested, and proven. We're growing rapidly at farm level. We're building partnerships with other regional initiatives. We have the support of some of the strongest brands, retailers, and traders in the world. and we're feeling very positive about the future. So at this point, I'd just like to highlight what BCI is doing to promote the fact that Australian cotton growers and others are busy producing better cotton and making it available to the market. As a starting point, BCI produces both a harvest report and a separate annual report each year, which publicly showcases the work that we and all of our partners around the world are engaged in. This is an extract from BCI's 2014 annual report, where the engagement with Australian cotton growers is being showcased to a worldwide audience. It includes a quotation from Adam Kay, quite a good one actually, where issues of access to market and dealing with competition from synthetic fibers can be addressed through programs such as MyBMP and Better Cotton. I had the pleasure to meet Barb Gray for the first time yesterday, and through her and others like her, Australian cotton growers have a lot to be proud of. And this is something that we want to showcase at BCI. BCI also holds outreach events throughout the year, and this is an example of some of the events that BCI is participating in during the second half of this year. Plus an example of how BCI showcased Australian best management practices during this during this year's annual membership meeting in Istanbul. At the same time, and during the same meeting, a promotional event was organised by Cotton Australia and held at the Australian Consulate in Istanbul. Here you can see representatives of leading global brands and retailers. There's Nike, Levi's, VF Corporation, IKEA, amongst others, standing shoulder to shoulder with BCI and Cotton Australia. There you can see Simon Corish at the back, Hamish McIntyre, Arthur Spelson on the left. We had Brooke Shields behind the camera, Brooke Summers behind the camera. So aside from what BCI does itself, sorry Adam, that was a compliment. Our partners are also busy sending clear signals to the marketplace. These are extracts of publications by the likes of IKEA, H&M, and Decathlon. Adidas and John Lewis have created dedicated web pages, while others like M&S are spreading the word via social media. Here you can see how Levi's and Adidas have engaged through press pieces and blogs. And the likes of Adidas, Marks & Spencer, VF Corporation also include Better Cotton when reporting about their goals for sustainability. Even the mainstream and industry press are actively promoting the work that we're doing at BCI. So, as I know we're short on time and I'm standing between you and lunch, to begin wrapping up a little bit, I'd like to share a short 4-minute video that allows others, and actually I must apologize because I'm actually in this too, including one of your own growers, to explain why BCI is important to them. Will that go? For me, BCI is a great opportunity for growers around the world to join an initiative which demonstrates very clearly that cotton can be produced in a sustainable manner.
I think what's super interesting about BCI is it's not a niche organization. It has real opportunity to change the industry, to address the scale issues that we need.
We know that we need to make cotton more sustainable, and it's something we as a company can't do ourselves. BCI is at 11% of all cotton grown today, reaching about 1 million farmers around the world. I mean, that is huge impact. And we also see the impact of BCI in reduction in pesticide use, reduction in water use, and increased profits for those farmers.
BCI has set itself a target by 2020 of having in excess of 30% of global cotton produced as Better Cotton.
We've made incredibly public targets which say that by 2020 we'll be 100% more sustainable cotton. And the reality is, to get there, that's going to be predominantly BCI.
The reason that we're in this is because sitting there watching all these retailers make these commitments for the amount of BCI cotton that they will be consuming in the next 5 and 10 years. Looking at that from the supply side, that's a market share that we miss out on.
SUPEMA is a promotional organization for the extra long staple American Pima, and our customers showed interest in BCI. They wanted BCI SUPEMA cotton, so we want to do what our customers want us to do.
Cotton is one of the 15 crops that we worry about because of the water use and the pesticide use and because of habitat loss to cotton production. So from our point of view, it isn't a question of if cotton, it's a question of how cotton.
BCI has the same challenge as conservation does, where we're going into the farm and we are trying to influence on how the farmer treats his land. And so that cultural exchange, that dialogue is really critical.
Personally, I have found that it's been quite powerful to actually sit there with some civil society groups and discuss some relevant ideas. We certainly don't agree on everything, but just that method of being able to talk and discuss, and a lot of the times we come to a mutual understanding quite quickly. I'd also encourage my fellow farmers that they're already doing the right things. They've just got to get out there and promote what they're doing. And yes, it is a little bit of paperwork, but I think the benefits longer term will be forthcoming.
I think the beauty of the system is it provides consistency, it provides opportunity, and it provides targets for development, whether you're incredibly advanced or whether you're more developing in your farming practices. And that's what's great about BCI is it's truly global, it's relevant for everybody, and it drives a standard that we can all be proud of.
For us, we like the Better Cotton Initiative because it has impact.
The more we work together on finding solutions, the more successful we'll all be.
If somebody's going to tell your story, if you're in here showing the world, kind of opening yourself up and showing the world that everything that we're doing is socially right, economically right, and trying to do the things the right way for our land and our farms to be able to pass along to our kids, then there's really not a whole lot from that standpoint to be afraid of.
So finally, I know that many of you here today are already enrolled in the MyBMP program, over 60%, I believe, which is pretty impressive. And I hope that you'll see the value in completing the full process and go on to achieve certification so that we in turn at BCI can recognize your efforts on the ground and provide a growing number of Better Cotton licenses to Australian growers. It's also important to note that with Cotton Australia established as a strategic partner for BCI, as well as currently holding a seat on BCI's council, Australian growers are in a leading position to drive change in the industry as MyBMP and BCI continue to evolve together. Thank you, and I hope you'll join us in being part of something better.